Really, it was my dad and Antoine. So I'm gonna start it. No, I think you're good. Hello. Thank you everyone for coming. For those of you who don't know me or haven't met yet, my name is Nathan. I'm Lori's son. Um, I wrote some stuff down because I wanted to make sure I said it. Let me see if I can turn it up. Hello, is that better? Okay, there we go. All right. Today we're here to celebrate the life of Lori Renner, my mom. As you know, there's a lot to celebrate because my mom was a truly remarkable woman who touched many people's lives. So many, in fact, that we're actually live streaming and recording these remarks for our family and friends who aren't able to be with us today. As I look around and I see people from all corners of my mom's life, relatives and coworkers, lifelong friends and new acquaintances, and there's even people here who met her only once or not at all, but they're here nonetheless because of the network of love my mom created. I've always known my mom was a special person, but my real understanding of that was really has really broadened over the years. You know, when I was a kid, my mom was special because she was my mom, and I loved her so much that I cried when she left me on the first day of daycare, which is a story that she loves to tell. She left a packed lunch with me, and I refused to eat it, and because she had given it to me, and it was the one thing that I had, and so I clenched on so tightly to the packed lunch that I was still holding it when she came to pick me up, and I realized that she wasn't truly gone forever. And then as I grew up, I sort of realized that my mom wasn't special only because she was my mom, but also because she was special among moms. She was caring and nurturing, firm, persistent, loving, and she encouraged me to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and see the best in people. She constantly pushed me to be the best version of myself while simultaneously supporting and loving me for exactly who I was. And as I grew older and as I spoke to more people, the more perspectives of my mom I began to see, the more I began to understand how truly remarkable she really was. And whenever I think of examples, my mind is too flooded to pick specific ones or to pick out the best. But I wrote down a couple of my favorites that just really, I think, illuminate who she was. So she grew up in a farm in North Dakota, and one of her hobbies was raising cats, and she had actually trained her cats to come out running out of the barn in the dozens when she called them. She traveled the world with her family and her friends, and she was often the one coordinating the trip and figuring out all the details. And she even made sure to bring her mom on some of the trips to ensure that she got to see things like Alaska and the Czech Republic, where that side of the family is from. Every year, she would pick and then either freeze or can hundreds of pounds of fruits every summer, and she would usually go. We would usually go picking fruits with blueberries and strawberries with our neighbor Bobby. And if there was ever a time that Bobby couldn't go, my mom would make sure to pack like a few extra, or like to pick a few extra dozen for Bobby, so that there was something for her. She started Coda Consulting, which is an IT consulting firm that grew year after year for 16 years, and now has over 100 people. She helped all 11 of her nieces and nephews set up education funds for themselves or their children, and then she made a sizable donation to each of those funds. She welcomed Alex, my fiance, into the family with open arms and a quick wit. And perhaps best known, she baked and delivered thousands of cookies each Christmas season for all of her friends, families, clients. And she always made sure that it had something new and to balance the flavors and the colors and the textures and ingredients so that everybody had options that they can enjoy. And I think that describes my mother really well. She always wanted to make sure that everyone was well taken care of. Sometimes that meant 17 entrees for a Thanksgiving dinner for 5 people, so that even the vegetarians and the gluten-free had options. Sometimes it meant buying extra pillows or hanging up a light-blocking sheet in the bedroom so that a visitor could be more comfortable. And sometimes it just meant a loving text when I needed it most. In some ways, I feel now very much like that kid being dropped off at daycare with my mother walking away and me with only a lunchbox left behind. But at this time, I'm opening this lunchbox and I'm finding a lifetime of invaluable lessons and a wonderful network of support and love and memories to remember her by. And I think sharing our memories of my mom is really the best way to honor her. One way we're doing that is we're creating a memory book with photos and passages and letters from friends. And we'll eventually duplicate this book and get it printed and send them out to anyone who wants it. It's our way of letting her legacy live on, of helping us remember and providing something for future generations who didn't get the chance to know her. I'd like to encourage everybody to support that and contribute something. If you have photos or messages, there's paper inside if you want to write it down today, or if you want to email us later. We're going to be collecting for months so that everyone has a chance to share what they can. And then we'll, like I said, make copies of that. And I also want to open up the floor now for other people to say things. I want to begin with Christina Bohr, who's been a good friend to the family for 20 years.
I'm not as tall. Let's see. And I'm already crying, so let me see if I can read this. I was lucky enough to know Lori for the last 20 years. I was constantly amazed at how much time and attention she devoted to her spiritual life in the midst of what were already intense and fulfilling professional and personal lives. But it was during the time she was sick that she amazed me the most. Through all of the fear, uncertainty, and pain, she continued to explore new spiritual paths and was committed to learning as much as she could about herself. Initially, Lori questioned why she had cancer, but over time and through deep reflection and self-compassion, that question was transmuted to, what can I learn from this experience? A new Lori was being born through her struggle. She reached out for more help, she opened up to greater vulnerability and even more love of self and others. Even from her hospital bed, Lori talked to me about finding meaning in her experiences and how she could best share her insights with others. Lori had a vibrant analytical mind as well as a deep connection to her intuition. She was fearless in her commitment to self-knowledge and self-exploration. She studied and practiced a wide variety of spiritual paths from many traditions, including astrology, shamanism, Tibetan Buddhism, the work of Edgar Cayce, dream interpretation, and meditation. She was always seeking meaning and balance in her work life, her personal life, and her home in this beautiful garden. I don't think I ever had a conversation with her from which I didn't learn something new. If I told her about a spiritual book I'd read, chances are she'd already read it and had insights into it that had never occurred to me. If we were sitting in her garden, she'd tell me about the meaning behind different birds or animals or plants. If we talked about what we had done over a weekend, chances are she had gone to a workshop and learned something transformative, which she was happy to share. And that is another aspect of Lori's spiritual life. She lived the precept that things have the most value if we share them with others. She was such a generous person, always thinking about how she could use her insights and gifts most effectively, and she was very perceptive about what was needed in any given situation. Lori was one of the most remarkable and multifaceted people I have ever met. She was a modern kind of mystic. She was an inspirational seeker of truth, wisdom, and transformation. Now, I feel like she told me to sing this song. I'm not a singer, but she loved singing, and I often sang this song to her, so I'm going to try to sing it. Oh, great spirit, earth, sun, sky, and sea, you are inside and all around me. Thank you.
Oops. Okay. Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm I'm Lori's sister. Sorry, that song kind of got me. So I'm gonna try to pull it together, and I want to start by saying my mom, and Lori's mom, wants y'all to know she really wanted to be here to share in the celebration of Lori's life, but the family members were here last week, and Mom's 87 now, so another trip just wasn't in the cards right now. But they're live streaming it, and so they're watching, and we are also planning a similar celebration of life back in North Dakota sometime later this summer. So the first thing I'm going to do is my daughter, Nikki, is 17, and she sent me this memory of her Aunt Lori that she wanted me to share. So I'll read that first. And she said, one of my favorite memories about Lori is also one of my first memories of her. When I was a little, around age 6, my mom, Jackie, grandmother, Aunt Becky, and 2 cousins, Kennedy Taylor, Aunt Lori, and I all traveled to Disney World in Florida. As I remember, I knew Aunt Lori fairly well, but about as well as a 6-year-old could know an aunt that lived across the country. That changed throughout the trip, though. My mom and I shared a room with Aunt Lori on the trip, so I began to know her better. My mom likes to sleep very late. Really, very late. News to me. But at the time, Lori and I were early birds. One morning while my mom was asleep, we decided to go out and explore. We found a playground from the movie Toy Story. It had a very large door with the name Andy on it. I called it my brother's playground. At the playground, we went down the slides, pushed each other on the swings, and played tag. To this day, I have never seen an adult radiate so much joy playing childhood games. She was so happy playing tag and going down the slides. Even as a child, I noticed and tried to take a picture of her chasing me while playing tag. She didn't want it taken, because as you know, Lori didn't like pictures, but Nikki writes, I got it. It's blurry, but there's a big smile on her face as she runs towards me. And it's in the photo show. You'll see that photo of her running towards Nikki. You can see how much fun and full of life she has captured in just one shot. Looking at the picture reminds me of this day. This is the day I first really got to know Aunt Lori and began to feel completely comfortable around her. It was a day I saw someone who was truly happy with the simple things in life, like playing tag. And that is who Lori was. She was someone who was willing to play and someone who enjoyed the simple things in life. She didn't need a lot to make her happy or bring a smile to her face. Throughout the next 11 years or so, I have made many more amazing memories with Aunt Lori, but they all go back to this one, the memory of fun Aunt Lori. And she always called Aunt Lori the fun aunt. She was the fun aunt. She was willing to play tag with a little girl early in the morning. I will always cherish this memory of my happy, light-hearted, willing-to-play aunt. I love her and miss her greatly, and she will be in my fondest memories forever. So I'll just say a few other words, too. There's many things we could all say about Lori, but here's a few things that I knew about Lori, and that is no matter how busy she was with work or with life, if I called her and said, I need you to come now, and I live in Minneapolis, I need you to be here, she would be. She would drop whatever she was doing, and she would show up on my doorstep. And so she was, I think none of us have enough people in our life that's like that we can count on to be there no matter what. Another thing about Lori that I will greatly miss is, especially after her coaching class, she really cultivated the ability to listen to personal problems without telling you what to do. I mean, how many of us, how many of us, when someone tells us something, say, well, here's what you should do. And, and we immediately want to go and fix it and tell them. And so Lori she might do this thing, and I think she picked it up from you guys in D.C., where she'd go, to express displeasure, but she wouldn't say, directly, here's what you ought to do. She had enough respect for people that she thought if she, asked the right questions, she'd help lead you to the solution that was best for you, and that you would be able to figure out the solution yourself. The other thing about Lori is she was a person who lived her values, and I think we all say we want to do that, but a lot of us don't actually do that. And so she practiced what you might call kind of country wisdom, things that my mother taught us at home on the farm, and there were simple things like do what you say you're going to do. Okay? It's extremely simple, but an amazing number of people in life and in business don't. They don't do what they say they're going to do. And Lori always did. She also believed in don't waste. Don't waste natural resources, don't waste time, don't waste money, don't waste. And she didn't waste anything. And if you make a mess, clean it up. Don't expect other people to do it for you. I mean, so those are some really, very basic things, values that she lived all the time. And so for those reasons and many others, I will find the world a lonelier place without Lori. So I just want to close by reading the 23rd, I guess it is, Psalm. You all know this one. So if anybody wants to join in with me, please feel free to do so. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And so, thank you. We, I think Nathan mentioned this. We want to open it up now so anyone can please come up and say your remarks as well.
Hi, I want to beg your indulgence. I'm going to try and get through this. Thank you. Um, I'm going to just do some memories. My name's Trisha. Knew Lori for 30 years or more. Um, I can remember Lori the first time I met her 30 years ago. She had come from North Dakota only weeks earlier and was applying for a work study job in the news office at GW where I was working. Remarkably, she looked the same now, well, recently, as she did 30 years ago, except for her hair was longer. Um, she's amazing. As assistant director, it was my job to hire her to help with our incoming computer system. And I remember being, I can't read, I gotta just say, sorry. I remember just being amazed by her, talking with her, so much so that instead of the usual job interview, I said, let's go get coffee. And we went out and shared the first of many, many delicious brownies, and talked for 2 hours. And only about 10 minutes of that was actually the job interview. She was just so amazing. And I remember when we went back, the director interviewed her and said, she's way too smart for us. She won't stick around. And I just said, we need to hire her anyway and keep her as long as we can because she's going to make a big difference. And I think I didn't want, I wanted him to hire her because I knew there was going to be a tremendous friendship there. And I didn't want her to walk out of my life at that point, even then. So, through the years, Lori has been my support in everything, through everything I've gone through. She's always been there. She's been there for everyone else that I know, that she knows. She's been there for strangers through her various activities that she's been involved with. She's always believed in me, and she's always believed in Nathan and her family and her friends, and supported them any way she could. Lori always amazed me with her amazing left brain logic and intelligence, but it was combined with right brain creativity and with problem solving out of the box. I mean, it's just amazing. And her constant search for spiritual growth. She also wore me out with her incredible energy. She was hard to keep up with. I have many memories of Lori, more than I could possibly cover here in the afternoon. So I will share for me what were the most memorable. They were the long trips we took together. Lori and I traveled a lot, sometimes a 3-hour drive to the beach, hang out at the beach, and then drive back home for 3 hours. Sometimes we'd go to ARE activities in Virginia Beach. We took rides on planes. We went to New York City for the day. Long trip, long talks, good lunch, good entertainment, and rides home. It wasn't just that time, but the time that we were quiet together. We could go and we could talk for hours, and then we could decide, oh, I'm tired, or I want to read a book, and we could say that to each other, and then we could be quiet together. We would plan our trips, and we'd say, I want to do this, I want to do that, but we always kept time and organized ourselves so that we had time just to be quiet. And there's not many people you can do that with. Just be quiet. We even used to sing together. We'd come home from our long car rides and we'd blast the music as loud as we could, and we both would sing softly because neither of us were real confident about our singing abilities. So we'd sing softly, but we would be loud in our own way. I'm going to miss those times the most, I think, our quiet times together. I don't know really how to end this except for to say I'm going to miss her. And I loved her very much.
So Al, I may need you up here. Um, my name is Lena Cassis, and I've known Lori now for almost 20 years, and I like to say in this lifetime. So Nathan, Alex, Jackie, and rest family and friends. I picked out of the tapestry of hundreds of stories just two short ones to share with you. So I worked with Lori at NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology in Gaithersburg. And one day we are all walking to the cafeteria. So Lori, myself, and I'm going to name a few colleagues that aren't here, but Yali, Liji, Cindy, so 5 women walking towards the cafeteria. Imagine this. And we all look pretty much the same height and weight. So I look at Lori and I say, clearly you're hiring us by height and weight. Of course, that isn't true because the next folks that she hired were 2 men, like bouncers size. So they were NFL linebackers. And by the way, between the 5 of us, 2 are of Indian descent. Actually, 2 are of Chinese descent. 1 is of Indian descent, and I'm of Lebanese descent. So clearly, it was like a mix, as I see here, a tapestry of diversity. Now, the size is going to come in very handy because one day Lori comes to NIST and there's an unexpected meeting with the director's office. And Lori is wearing jeans because on Fridays, and NIST is very casual generally. So Fridays is even more casual. So Lori is in a pair of jeans. She walks in, she realizes she has a meeting. She looks me, I'm in a pair of black pants. Liji is in a pair of black pants. She says, oh, you two, come with me to the restroom. We walk in, and by the way, my 14-year-old son said, I like where this is going. So I take off my pants. Liji takes off her pants. We pass her the pants through the restroom, and Lori's changing into mine first. Well, okay, my background is in fashion design, so my pants had a slit from my ankle all the way up to my hip. So Lori surely wouldn't put those on. She put on Liji's pants, which were the go-to black pant. And all went well, then we re-exchanged afterwards. So all right, the second story, also a quick one, but it's more recent. I hope I can get through this one. A couple of Tuesdays ago, I met Lori to go to her doctor's appointment. And I consider those times privileged times because I got a chance, as Trisha said, as each of you have said, to experience really Lori's conversation and insightfulness. So she says to me here in the kitchen, she says, Lena, there's a card game that you like, right? I said, I love card playing, and I know that Lori does too, that all of you do. So I said, yes. Lori says, how many decks do you need for this game? I said, you need 2. She gets 2 decks, but we put them in the bag, we go to the doctor's office. As soon as we get situated, Lori says to me, okay, how do you play this game? And I start explaining. It's similar to Gin Rummy. It's a game called 14, which translates to 14. And each person gets 14 cards. Just quickly, many, many little rules for this game. You have to have 51 points to come down. If you have a joker, you cannot use it on a run. You can only use it on if you're matching 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind. If you come down all at once and get done with all your cards, you stick the other person at least 100 points. And in this game, you want to be in the negative, not in the positive. So it's like golf, you want to be in the minus. So to make a long story short, no one doubts Lori's superior intellect. She got the game so quickly, and not only this, was beating me. And she knows that I hate to be beaten. Because I don't play with my mother, because my mother beats me. And I hate to play also at night, because then you can't sleep after being beaten. So I'm explaining to Lori all this about my mother, how she beats me. And we come back and I drop off Lori here, and I always came out of the car so I can get a hug goodbye. And I got my hug goodbye, and then Lori looks at me and she says, Lena, don't tell your mother how good I am. And I said, she goes, I want to stick it to her next time I see her. So to me, Lori, of course, these two stories don't illustrate everything, but just I will miss looking at turquoise and silver jewelry every time I see her. I will miss the conversation. And until we meet again, Lori, until we meet again.
This step? Yeah, the step. I haven't known Lori very long. I met her in January of 2013, cohort 37 at Georgetown's coaching program. And I remember seeing her and thinking, oh my God, that person's got a lot of energy. I hope she doesn't pick me when we have to pick partners. And they told us we had to pick journal partners. Journal partners are people who work through all of the issues of coaching with each other throughout the entire span of the thing. And I usually am the person who picks people. That's what I do, right? I'm the person that starts stuff. I didn't have a chance. She walked up to me, she looked at me, and she said, I think we're going to be partners. And I didn't know what that was going to mean for my life. I didn't know then how much it was going to change me. I mean, when she got sick, I was sick too, but not nearly as sick as she was, and all we ever talked about was how I was going to get through things because she wouldn't let me talk about her. She's like my soul sister. And I'm going to miss her so much. But I know I don't have to miss her because she's here with us. I remember one of our last conversations, she asked me if I believed that people stayed in contact with us after they passed. And we had a really long conversation about what that might mean, and did she mean ghosts or angels or spirits in the great spirit of the shamanic tradition or what? And she said, I don't know, any of them. And so I know she's here with us right now. I know she's walking in the garden. She's hanging out in our dreams. And I know she'll be there when I need her. There's lots of other stories in 3 years, but the one I want to implant in my brain is the last photograph I ever got to take of her, because she did not like pictures. And she didn't even know I took this one. We were hiking down in the creek down here, walking Bernard. And she was up ahead of me and just walking up a hill, and I snapped a picture, and it's really fuzzy. It's like really blurry, totally not focused, but it's perfect because it's her walking into the woods, heading off, and then waiting for us somewhere up there. So thank you. And thank you all for sharing her with me.
I've got another thing to read, but this is written by somebody else, by Jane Grismer, who was Lori's acupuncturist, I don't know for how many years. Long time. Yeah. So this is what she wrote. I can still hear Lori's laughter from the last time we saw each other in the treatment room. But first, she said. Yes, Nathan had to come out, but first. What a howl. I still tease him about it. A light and loving memory of her life, a way she had up until the end of riding above the complaint and the pain and the sorrow and finding simply the next wish for ease or appetite or sleep and just something to make her smile, just enough for the next day. Herbs in hand coming my way, lemongrass Shirley, a favorite spice she taught me to use, and yearly Christmas cookies, always expressing Lori's nature of giving to others. I never heard Lori complain about her situation, holding fiercely, tightly to what she knew and believed while her body had its own trajectory. What was the lesson here? Could she get it? Could I help her see the path through? And always she wanted to simply see over the next horizon. There was a way she was an adventurer in everything she did. I remember when she found herself as the CEO of a large company she founded. What did she do? She put herself into a management program that would give her the skills to not only manage others, but to support them to flourish. She cared about her staff. For me, Lori's spirit stood out in her acceptance. She never said, "Why me?" or "This isn't fair." She always looked toward the next moment with a kind of grace and dignity. The healing circle that had been planned for her grew out of a conversation that we had. I asked her if she knew what she meant to others. She looked at me and said, "How would one know that?" I believe Lori can hear us today, and as she listens, that she will know what she meant to each of us. Receive our full expression, Lori. It belongs to you. Finally, thank you for gifting me with your spirit of acceptance. Jane Grismer.
All right. I'm the other L as part of the Lena's equation of Lori, Lena, Ligi, and Lokesh. Sort of the initial comers of Dakota. Gonna be a little hard. It's kind of nice to see everybody out here. We do our holiday parties, which Lori never wanted to call them holiday parties. It was the end of the year party. But we had them in January, so really was it the end of the year party or the beginning of the year party? But her big thing on these parties was, is there going to be a turnout? Are people really going to come out? I'm like, Lori, you have an event, people are going to come out. And this is a true example of that. It's been 10 days since Lori passed away. I wait each day in hopes to see my phone ring, hoping for her number and her LinkedIn profile pop on my phone. Or a Google chat on my phone that says GM. Good morning, right? Well, we know that's not going to happen. Funny part about Lori's GM message was, especially when it came in around 8 in the morning. For the people that know me, I don't operate until about 9:30, 10 o'clock. If you get a text message at 8, that means she either had a dream and she wants to talk about it, or shit's hit the fan early in the morning. So while I get ready looking at that GM and not replying, I'm like, forget what I had planned out for the day. It's going to take a different track. April 15th, 2005 was when I met Lori for the very first time. I was actually recruited by the other L, Lena. I came up to Catapult, that's where we held our interview, and we hit it off. Saturday, she called me. She's like, all right, I'm going to extend an offer. I'm like, all right, it's the weekend, I guess. Sure, I can work on the weekend, whatever. We'll negotiate and all that. Monday, the offer letter was there. Tuesday, I accepted the offer to start 2 weeks from that date. But Tuesday came in, statement of work, NCNR website. All right, you need to review all these documents before you start on May 2nd. Like, okay, I still have my other job, but sure. I joined Dakota as a database developer. That was almost 12 years ago, or 11. Days, months, and years went by, and thanks to Lori and the trust she bestowed upon me, I stand here as Dakota's vice president. Lori was an amazing, kind-hearted, and down-to-earth person, full of knowledge and an information junkie. Didn't matter who she was talking to, she could strike that conversation and keep it going for minutes, hours. We will cherish the wonderful memories she leaves us with, including the red lines, strike-throughs, and her comments in documents. And a lot of the Dakota folks probably know what I'm talking about. We would spend hours on writing documents that we thought were really good and, it's going to hit the mark. But as soon as Lori would look at it, oh, forget it. You're back to the drawing board. But everything made sense. She really knew what the other party wanted to see in that proposal or document. We will dearly miss her, and we will continue her dreams for Dakota Consulting to not only do what our customers need, but do not go above and beyond what they expect. And for Sean, we don't gold plate, okay? We just go above and beyond. We have some customers in here too, so. She developed a great organization on the basis of customer service, honesty, and flexibility. We gather here today to remember her achievements and how she touched each one of us through her leadership, mentoring, or simple good mornings. It certainly was an honor to work for someone, and someone that genuinely cared about people. Bit of exciting news since she passed away. We had been trying to tap into a market for years and years. A day after her passing, we got an amazing news that we landed a contract in DoD. She never wanted to work in DoD. She hated the whole ammunition, weapons, this, that. No. But for the last 2, 3 years, we kept striving to get into it. And the day after, we got the good news. A lot more memories, but just wanted to highlight a few. Thank you.
My name's Georgia. Diane Dotson is my mom. Lori and my mom were friends for before I was born, so at least 23 years. And this house and Lori and her family have been a big part of our life. It's always been my mom and my brother and I. And every Christmas Eve or Easter, we always had a place to go and a meal to share. And some of my fondest memories were Easter egg hunts in this garden that has transformed into much more than I remember, but still fun then. And the mashed potatoes and fruit salad and peanut butter balls at Christmas Eve that I knew were coming. And I remember looking forward to Christmas Eve because we got to open one present at Lori's house. And it was always a present from Lori. And she somehow always knew what was cool or what I would like. And she got me a keyboard one year. And I still have it and still intend to learn to play one day. But, she was always with it. And, we were part of her family and she was part of ours. And we would come together and it would be, just like any other family. And I'm glad that that has been such a part of my life. And that she's been there for my mom because I know that's been a meaningful relationship for them. And I'm sorry to see that end. But my last 23 years knowing her has been amazing, and I'll remember that.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. I know it's hot, and I want to encourage everybody to continue to share with everyone else here on a one-on-one basis and to contribute to the memory book. I do have some administrative details that have been written down for me. So again, reminder about the memory book. We have so much food. I mean, if you knew my mom, if you ever attended an event that she was a part of, there was always way too much food. And so in that tradition, we have way too much food. So please feel free to eat some. And we've got Tupperware, take some with you. And there's coolers around everywhere. So there's plenty of beer and soft drinks and things like that. So please, she was very organized and she was very clear. She said she didn't want a memorial, she didn't want a funeral, she wanted us to have a party in her honor, and she would pay for it. So that's what we were going to do. I also wanted to let people know that all of these her gardens up here, there's seating up there, there's places to sort of hang out. Please take some time to walk up there. The garden was very important to her. I mean, if you saw this house when we moved in, it was like, it was just ivy and like a straight hill of ivy. And she really made it into the beautiful place that you see here today. So please take some time to enjoy that. And I think that's it. Thank you everyone so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I know that she does too.